welcome to the channel. Today this is a special edition. We call it the collector's edition because in 1,000 years or so it could be worth a lot of money. So save it on the hard drive so you have it in case you're still around 1,000 years from now. All right, James Griffith had a thread. Show 10 albums from 10 different cities. I thought, wait, that's intriguing. I travel a lot, so I could easily find 10 albums in 10 cities. So I thought, let's try this. 10 albums from 10 different countries. Now, that became a little bit hard, so I'm going to add in a couple U.S. cities in this thing also. Now, I am going to show a number of CDs because when traveling overseas, it's really, really hard to buy just... you can't, transporting vinyl back home is not an easy thing to do. And so I bought a number of CDs. So let's begin. Right after I graduated from college, 1981, I went on a 3-week trip to England. It was with the English class. I was a minor in England in English. So we went over there. And for 2 weeks we had to follow an itinerary. And the last week we could do whatever we wanted. Well, I broke away from my friends because I wanted to go to Wales. I wanted to ride a steam railroad there. Well, over in Wales, I stayed with a family at a bed and breakfast. Really got to know them. And it's watching TV, and on the TV there was always a video for Adam and the Ants. And man, were they big! And they had a teenage daughter. Well, when it was time for me to leave, they asked me if I could take the teenage daughter to a town in England. It was on my way. So I said, yeah, that's fine. So we left Tywyn, that's the name of the town in Wales. We left Tywyn, and we took the train there. Well, and I can't remember the name of the town, somewhere in the middle of England. But when we got there, I asked, hey, do you know of any record stores? Because I really want to get an Adam Ant album. And she told me where one was at. And I went there and I got this one, Kings of the Wild Frontier. The beginning of ant music for ant people. This thing was so big in England. It just blew me away. And I really loved this album along with Prince Charming. After that, I didn't much care. But those first two I thought were great. Then I was, my last night, I decided, hey, I'm going to save some money. So I just took the train and I rode the train all the way up to Scotland. Got off at 2 in the morning. Took the next train back to London. Well, I wake up as I'm approaching London, and across from me, just 2 little old ladies, and they're just smiling at me, and they see me wake up, and they go, would you like some tea and biscuits? All right, yes. And so these 2 nice little ladies, they gave me tea and biscuits, and they go, hey, you want us to take you around London? We can show you the great sights and all that. And I was being hit up on a nice 21-year-old by some 60-year-old gals. Boy, does it get better than that. I had things to do, and I had to meet my backup of my group, so I said I can't. But I said, could you tell me where a record store is? And they knew where one was at, off the railroad station. So, you know, they had been talking about Kate Bush, and I had heard her stuff over there. I was unfamiliar with her in the States, so I went to the record store, and I bought this one, The Kick Inside. My first Kate Bush album. So that was kind of exciting, thanks to 2 little 60-year-old ladies that did that. Quite the surprise when you wake up. Also, on another trip that I went there, I think I've been to UK 4 times. You know, and when I was young, when I'd get a bonus from work, you know, instead of putting it away to save for my retirement, nah, let's go overseas. That was always my big thing. I love travel. Travel's just been a part of my life growing up. We had a camper. I had a camper for my kids. But whenever I could go overseas and I could save up enough money, I would do it. Well, I took my wife to Edinburgh because I'd been there to see, I'd seen the Highland Games back in '81. So I just wanted to show it to her. And we went there. Ended up going around Edinburgh, and I picked up this CD. There it is, the Black Watch, the Highland, the Royal Highland Regiment. Love bagpipe bands. When I was at the Highland Games, I fell in love with bagpipes and the whole bagpipe band. I don't like when they have the flutes and crap in there. I want bagpipes and drums. Just bagpipes and drums. Screw the rest of it. That's what I like. So I bought that. On another trip to England, this one, so this was Edinburgh. Got this in London. And it's a Fleetwood Mac box set on there. And this has all of the early Fleetwood Mac albums on CD. And you know, look at that. They just come in that. Isn't that nice? Really nice packaging from back in the early 90s. So they have all the early stuff before Buckingham Nicks. So this is the really blue stuff. So I bought that there. Also went to York. So I know same country, different cities here. But in York, I bought this. And I was so excited. Punk and New Wave, 1976 to 1979. And it's a 5 CD box set. And a real nice book came in with it. This really introduced me to British punk. And I was just, man, this was such a great find. I was one of the happiest things that I've dug up as I've been traveling. So pick that up over in York, England. Took a trip to Switzerland and Austria. I also rent a car. I can't speak the language. I just figure things out. It's just the way it is. You know, if you don't understand, you just talk real loud and slow, and that hopefully they understand like it really works. But we took a side trip into Germany. Went to see Neuschwanstein, you know, the Cinderella Castle thing. But found a record store and bought Black Flus. It's a group out of Cologne, Germany. There's the Cathedral of Cologne. Just different stuff. I mean, it's interesting. It was neat. I had no idea what I was buying, but bought that in Germany. So that's something from Germany. We went over to one trip. I took my parents and I had my kids and that. And we did a week in England, and then we went over to a week in Ireland. I had to buy a big van for that one. It's like, really? I got to drive a big van through Ireland? Holy smokes. Them roads are tight, let me tell you. I made it. I didn't kill anybody. But we went out to Doolin. Now, so Doolin would be on the west coast of Ireland. It's north of Dingle, by God. And Doolin is kind of a spot where they always talk about the Irish music, where you can go hear the live Irish bands. And sure as heck, I mean, you know, we were there a couple of nights, and every night I would go out to a pub, and my oldest son would come with, and we would listen to bands. And there was a record store there, and I picked up these. This is one of my all-time favorite Irish traditional music. It's a group called Damp in the Attic, and they do a lot of jigs and reels. Just beautiful stuff. They don't have, it's not so much singing, it's more the just the playing. Also had this one, Rig the Jig, I bought over there in Doolin, and one night at Harlow's. And then over in I think it was Dublin. I got this one. Beauty of Wayland. Rob, stranger. Rob, if you're watching, you can tell me what that means. I don't know. But this is songs from the Basket Islands. It was traditional stuff out on the Basket Islands. It's, you know, it was really different, but I just wanted to have some more traditional music on there, and that's what this was, a 2 CD set. I talked about my music room tour. I went over to Korea. We went over to, this was with a bunch of black belts. So, you know, we went there and we were doing, you know, Taekwondo and Kumdo. Kumdo was interesting because it's sword play, and so we had these, you know, Korean masters teaching us proper cutting technique. And so you roll up these straw mats, and the key is when you have your sword, you come down at 45-degree angle. If you don't go at 45-degree angle, it doesn't cut right. They go, no good, no 45. All right, start over again, you know, no 45. They didn't speak much English, but what I got to like over there was Korean drum music. And so I picked up this CD, which, funny enough, is from Japan. And the Japs and the Koreans, they're not necessarily friends, the Japanese and Koreans, but they had this, and it's similar to the Korean drum music. It's just all drums, and it's great stuff. I mean, it's so exciting and fun on there. So I picked that up over there. One trip went over we did Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. My relatives all live in Sweden. I went to see where my grandfather lived. That was, you know what, that was emotional. In my family, my grandfather had 10 brothers and sisters. He was the only one to come over to the United States. Everybody else stayed in Sweden. So obviously all my relatives are pretty much over there. So we went over to see and meet them. We ate moose, we ate elk, we ate every kind of thing under the sun. And I told this story once before. We went to Hard Rock in Stockholm. My cousin took me there, Big Ruben. And so we're sitting there, and he keeps going up to the DJ, and I'm hearing talking to him in Swedish and pointing over to me, Abba. And he kept saying, Abba, and pointing to me. So eventually Hard Rock Cafe stops the hard rock music and puts on ABBA, and they dedicate it to me. Isn't that nice? Yes, sirree. They called the ABBA superfan. So thank you, Hard Rock Cafe in Stockholm, for making my night. It's kind of funny. But Mr. Finglish, Bad English Rex, you would recognize this one. We've talked about this. Leningrad Cowboys. I picked this up in Stockholm, Sweden. This is a group out of Finland, I believe. Look at them haircuts on there. And so they went over to Russia and they did this, and they performed with the Russian chorus. And they did some great stuff. It's Only Rock and Roll is on here. Yellow Submarine, Proud Mary, Sweet Home Alabama, Give Me All Your Lovin'. So it's really cool. So this rock band from Finland's doing these songs, and then the Russian chorus comes in. Oh, give me all your lovin', all your lovin' kisses too. It's marvelous stuff. This is such a good album. It's a live set, but I bought that in Stockholm. Oh my goodness, that was fun stuff. In the Gammelstein. And I also picked up here some traditional Swedish classical music that I picked up over in Stockholm. I took a great trip one year. I spent 2 weeks up through Canada, and we went up to New Brunswick, to Nova Scotia, to Prince Edward Island. And one group I kept hearing a lot, and I kept seeing their CDs, was called Great Big Sea. That's what's playing in the background right now. Great Big Sea, and they're out of Newfoundland, I believe. So I really enjoyed them. And I think I got 6, 7 of their CDs now. Just, they have the accordion on there, and, guitars, drums, the whole things, but the accordion's really, really neat because it's not the big one, it's the smaller one. And really great music. So I picked this up in the capital of Nova Scotia. Is it on here? Let's see. There's Newfoundland. Hold on. Halifax. There we go. Picked it up in Halifax, Nova Scotia. So great stuff. I picked up a number of other CDs when I was there, but that was a fun one. My job used to take me to Hawaii, so I would spend time on there. A couple things I picked up. I know it's kind of like going to a country, isn't it? I learned about Iz when I went there. Now most people in the States know about him. I had missed him, but in Hawaii he was big. I mean, he is big, but he had passed away, and he made this one. And of course he does that, It's a Beautiful, Over the Rainbow he does. And he makes Over the Rainbow his own. Wonderful, wonderful music I picked up in Honolulu, along with the king of the slack key, the best of Gabi Pauchi. I can't speak English. How am I going to speak Hawaiian? But this is really, again, more nice traditional stuff. I'm always looking for something a little different like that. All right, let's see. I think, here we go. We're in New York City. I've only been to New York City once, and I've had 2 foreign exchange students, one from Germany, one from Sweden. When they were done, they stayed with me a full year. When it was coming up for them to go home, and I would say, where do you want to go? My German exchange student, he wanted to go out and see the Southwest. So we spent 2 weeks camping through the Southwest. My Swedish student, she goes, I want to go to New York City. She'd been there before, but she wanted to go there again. So never been there, so we went. And we're over out in the village, I guess. And I was watching, I think my dad wasn't doing so well, so I was kind of just, with him at that time. My kids go, hey, Dad, there's a record store. What would you like? And I go, I've been wanting a Damned album. They went to that record store, and what did they find? This was an import. The Damned first album. I was like, no way. I had been looking for this thing. And this was in the late 90s. And it's on. It's actually, so it's not, it's on Stiff Records on blue vinyl. I was just really excited about this thing, and I couldn't believe that they found it for me. And this was $18 back then. So there it was, my big purchase from New York City, the Damned. The other one is I've talked about a number of times, 3 years in Puerto Rico working. And to find a record store in Puerto Rico was like impossible. I just couldn't find anything. Your major retailers had the stuff, but there was no little record stores or CD stores. And I talked to a few people, it's really, they don't do much of any of that. But did find a couple things. Rock group here from San Juan, Los Pepinillos there. Fun little rock band, fast, a little punkier. And then Dax Diaz, So Long. Another one from San Juan, Puerto Rico. So some fun music from there that I was able to pick up on my travels. So I have other stuff, different CDs, obviously, as I go. It's just, I try to remember, what did I pick up? My God. As I was thinking about this and trying to think of the countries and what I grabbed where I've been. It's something I always want to continue to do, continue to keep traveling whenever possible, because it's a beautiful world out there. There's so much great stuff. And, out in the Southwest, I've picked up some great music from, the American Indians. Down south, you find some beautiful stuff from the Cajuns, and of course, any country you go to. I like to find traditional music. What do they listen to, as well as the new stuff? Because it's part of the experience, right? Music's part of the experience. The hard part is nobody in my family likes music. Well, they don't mind music, but they have no interest in going to a record store. So for me to get to a record store, it's like, really fast. I just run in, run out. So I don't get the time I want to spend in doing it, but hey, they let me do a little bit of it. So James Griffith, there you go. That's my music, some of my music from around the world in my travels, and hopefully you liked it. Thanks everyone for watching this special collector's edition. Bye.